Wilson is going on a tirade over Caitlin Clark possibly moving to Europe. Despite her absurd entitlement, Asia, who disparaged Caitlin for her luxury, is finally starting to acknowledge the contribution Caitlin has made to the WNBA. Asia feels she should take the initiative to make sure Caitlin stays in the WNBA since she is the greatest attraction. Asia believes that because she is the star, she ought to be the center of attention. However, Caitlin had the most significant influence on the league. Even if Asia portrays herself as a kind person, let's face it, no one appreciated Caitlin Clark before Wilson. She has lately shown that she can be quite jealous, much like the other WNBA players. Although Asia is aware in her heart that she isn't very attractive, she makes an effort to convince the public of this because she received the MVP award for the move. In a short time, she will leave the WNBA, and nobody will be discussing Asia as much as they did in previous years. No one is fooled by you, Asia.
Don't y'all want a greater profile? Don't y'all want more notoriety? Don't y'all want more?
When Asia Wilson stepped in to stop Clark's intentions, this possible agreement took an unexpected turn, but it may have established a precedent for players in the future and encouraged other WNBA players to think about playing abroad.
Wilson was a more dominating player and deserved to be the MVP.
Wilson interfered in the transaction, not as a minor annoyance, but on purpose to prevent Clark from using the opportunity. According to reports, Wilson, fresh off the WNBA MVP winner, believed she should play for the Euro League instead of Clark. Basketball and personal preference weren't the only factors at play here. Instead, it addressed a more significant issue of competitiveness and rivalry between two of the top players in the league. Given her prominence and WNBA championship, she ought to have been the first choice for European clubs. Therefore, it was likely offensive that Clark was chosen over her despite Wilson's accomplishments. Asia's actions seem to be driven by her belief that, because she has already made a name for herself as a strong force in the WNBA, she should be given preference for opportunities abroad. There are still others who believe that Caitlin has not been singled out this season. Clark hasn't earned the right to steal the spotlight from more experienced players, despite the fact that he is still a relatively young player in the league.
I think she's going to have an incredible career in the WNBA. There are women that were worthy of coverage prior to her arriving, and I just will not be silenced.
Already, Wilson and Clark are directly competing with one another on high-profile projects. Although the Nike incident hinted to a growing rivalry between the two players, the Europe scandal has intensified the situation by obstructing Clark's chance to play internationally. Wilson reportedly tried to damage Clark's Nike sponsorship in the past so she could get the contract. Wilson has shown the growing intimacy and ruthlessness of his competition.
An opportunity like that, how do you not capitalize? It doesn't make any sense at all. And playing the politics where, oh, we need to release Asia's shoe first. Well, no, it's not Caitlin's fault that you haven't done anything for Asia.
Caitlin Clark's rapid rise in the WNBA has drawn major attention from fans, media, and sponsors, shifting focus away from established star Aya Wilson. Some reports suggest past competitive tensions, including disputes over endorsement deals and opportunities in Europe, have fueled their rivalry. While such competition is common in professional sports, this situation reflects the evolving dynamics of the league, where new talent can quickly reshape the spotlight and challenge long-standing players for recognition and influence.
Caitlin Clark's the most valuable, most important person in the WNBA this year, and should have been unanimous.
Prior to Clark's arrival, Wilson was one of the NBA's most prominent players, winning accolades and endorsement deals in the process. However, Clark's arrival abruptly altered the plot. It is Clark who receives fan support, endorsement deals, and notoriety. Wilson has found it difficult to appreciate her accomplishments without feeling that Clark's rise is overshadowing hers as a result of the shift. Wilson's comments regarding Clark and her actions off the court both reveal this envy. Wilson has suggested in comments that Clark's path to success was easier, attributing her success to privilege rather than hard work. These comments demonstrate Wilson's frustration that the focus has shifted away from her, even though she believes she deserves to be at the top.
28 years old, 1,000 points in the regular season. Why is that not the biggest story out at the moment? Why are we talking about Caitlin Clark?
Why when Asia was releasing a shoe were we talking about?
Before Caitlin Clark's arrival, Aya Wilson was among the WNBA's most celebrated players, earning accolades and major endorsements. Clark's rapid rise, however, has shifted much of the spotlight, with her drawing significant fan support, sponsorships, and media attention. Wilson has expressed frustration, at times suggesting Clark's path has been easier, while some statistics highlight Clark's influence, such as noticeable drops in viewership when she isn't playing. Though elite players like Wilson remain competitive, Clark's presence has brought new audiences to women's basketball, making her a central figure in the league's growth.
Unanimous MVP, which by the way is the first unanimous MVP in the NBA or the WNBA to ever not make the finals, which is something else. Fans are gonna share that. It does not mean that we are misogynistic or we're just hating on Asia. No, it's just this is what happens.
Wilson and other top athletes have continued to perform well, but the absence of fan excitement highlights a hard reality for Wilson. Attracting attention requires more than just skill. Notwithstanding her achievements, Wilson has not been able to convince fans of Clark's unique appeal and playing style. Despite the league's long history of producing outstanding players, it seems that many fans lose interest even when Wilson and other stars are playing at their best. It becomes clear as the league grows that skill by itself cannot improve the game. For Wilson, players need to engage with fans, provide moments that will stick in their memories, and create the kind of energy that Clark has in spades. Existing fans were electrified and new ones were drawn in by the unique enthusiasm that Clark's entrance provided. Their antagonism has been stoked by their inability to recognize that Clark is the primary focus of fan attention.
It wasn't what it is. The quality of basketball may have been up to snuff, and you had somebody as popular as Cheryl Swoops who had her own signature shoe, had to deal with Nike and all of this other stuff. But the bottom line is, very few.
The sudden shift of emphasis around Clark has disturbed the chemistry of the league and left other players feeling overlooked and underappreciated. These players have expressed their dissatisfaction rather than celebrating Clark's achievements, seeing them as a threat rather than a triumph for women's basketball overall. Both on and off the court, this hostility has been evident. Some of this may be attributed to Clark's aggressive style of play, but it also shows how the league is becoming more tense as players who are annoyed by her success are motivated to challenge her supremacy, even if it means playing physically. Clark is now the WNBA's most unsuccessful player as a consequence.
Decide what they want to do. We can point out how wrong it is. We can point out that that's a reality that shouldn't be a reality. But what we can't do is say, this is what matters. That doesn't. When the audience...
The hostility against Clark also points to a more significant issue. After several players have spent years building their careers, Clark suddenly shows up and becomes the league's face. Some people have found it difficult to accept this abrupt transformation, which has resulted in criticism and envy. Some players focus on what they perceive to be unjust treatment, notably that Clark has received more attention and opportunity than they had when they were developing, rather than acknowledging the good influence Clark has had on the league.
Is amazing in and of herself. She's an incredible basketball player. I think I can say that she's great, and I can say that there are 143 women that helped get the league to this place that she could take it over the top, and it's okay. Like, that's not an...
Clark's influence and popularity have helped WNBA players make significant strides, despite the criticism she faces. Promote policies like wage increases and player travel on private planes that will benefit the league as a whole. These changes, which have addressed long-standing grievances over compensation and travel circumstances, have improved the lives of many players. Nevertheless, some league players still criticize Clark in spite of his accomplishments. Some players focus on their dissatisfaction with her success rather than acknowledging the good benefits she has had, which fuels their rivalry and animosity against her. It is hard to deny that the athletes who now criticize Clark have benefited from her influence. Instead of being appreciated, Clark has been met with hostility and anger, highlighting the complicated relationships inside the WNBA. Without Clark, the league may not have gotten the additional attention and funding that resulted in the introduction of private planes and larger wages. Please leave a like if you like it. Perhaps the clearest example of the enmity and rivalry that exist inside the WNBA is Wilson's decision to undermine Clark's Europe deal. Subscribe as well to see further videos.